We are recording. Carol Decker, how are you today?
I'm really good. Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
Wonderful. I'd ask you where you are because for those that are just listening and not watching, it looks like you're in outer space. Where
I
are
am.
you right now?
I am. Yeah, I'm great friends with Elon Musk, and I'm really famous. Like to know everybody, and he lent me a rocket, and off I went.
Fantastic.
I don't know where that background came from. It's cool though, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving it. All right. Carol, we're going to kick off your playlist, and we always do this the same way, and that's by me asking guests to tell me the song that they regard as having the greatest ever intro, please.
I found this really difficult, and I think with all of these songs, you on a different day you might pick a different song because there's so many great songs out there. But what I'm feeling today, I've got to say, it's "I Feel Love" Donna Summer.
Oh, what a choice.
It still sounds so. It's Giorgio Moroder, isn't it? I think, but
Mm.
it sounds so current. It doesn't age. The production doesn't age, and it's so infectious. And you just want to get up and you know shake your booty, really.
Absolutely. It's ironic that you've got outer space in your background because that song to me sounds like it's from outer space. It's like it didn't sound like anything Donna Summer had done today, and obviously them working with Moroder and that arpeggio is just so infectious. And you see some of them sort of early performances of that song, and she's so sexy, and the song's a really sexy song as well, and it's just it's such a long song as well when it just slows down, speeds
Yeah,
up. It's
I always want it longer.
yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
matron. Yeah, but if I and what a voice she had! What a fantastic voice she had. But if you try and sing it, I always end up singing "Relax" by Frankie. I go.
Yeah, yeah.
Think they were inspired. Do you think? Yeah.
Well, I
Oh,
definitely reckon Trevor Horn was a
yeah.
big fan of Moroder and that electronic stuff that was happening there. Definitely, definitely. Um, well, look, we'll definitely get on to everything that you're up to in a while. But I want to ask you. Well, I guess it sort of fits into what you've always done and what you're doing now. Um, in regards to songwriting and intros, how how do you approach it, and have you approached it in a different way now than perhaps you did back in the day?
Um, no, I think no, I don't think I have changed. I think a song has to have it has to reel you in quite quickly. I mean, I, what, talking about, I feel loved on summer. That's spectacularly, reeling you in. But I always think you've got to make a statement straight away. People got to listen whether you come straight in with a vocal or you come straight in with a chord progression. I think it's got to be concise and precise. I think and get your attention.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to ask you to tell me the first song that you remember hearing that had an emotional impact on you, please.
Oh, this was hard because I've always, especially when I was younger, I think I always had a broken heart from about 16. I was just always had like some mental crush on somebody, just didn't even know that I was alive, you know. And nobody, especially in the 70s, nobody wanted to go out with anybody ginger. It wasn't trendy at all. So I was very constantly in love, but not loved back. So, yeah, I would say the beautiful, emotional voice of Harry Nilsson on Without You. I can remember.
Yeah.
And we went, it was such a worldwide hit. I think I was 14 at the time when it came out. And we went on holiday to Italy and I heard it covered in Italian. So it was everywhere, all in different languages. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
If you had to, Carol, like pinpoint what the emotion was hearing that, how would you describe it?
Um, just forlorn. It's you mean it's funny these days. There's such a big push on you know self care and all the different podcasts that are out there how to overcome. And I remember as a young woman, the sort of feminist movement saying you don't need anybody. You don't need anyone to survive. You are your own person, and everything. But sometimes you feel like you do, don't you? You feel like you can't go on without them. And as I said, I used to feel that on a regular basis, probably about with boys I didn't yet actually know, but I just felt I couldn't actually live without them. You know? And it's a powerful thing, a broken heart. It's almost like I have had a properly broken heart, you know, and I was very depressed, and it was like a physical pain, like a sucker punch. So yeah, you're just forlorn. You don't know what you're going to do and how you're going to cope.
I think it's safe to say that probably 99.9% of all the greatest records ever made have come from that pain of a broken heart.
I know, yeah, and it's the deepest emotions, and I think particularly when you're younger, you really feel that, don't you? I think now I'm older, God forbid anything happened to my marriage, God forbid, but I think you'd be more sanguine about something ending, even if you were upset about it. But when you're young, when I first heard that song, I was very young, and I think I cried every time it came on the radio.
So I'll ask you this, Carol, with music like that, which is, you know, it pours with longing and such. If you wake up and you're having a bit of a blue day, you're feeling a bit sad, like, do you go and find the most joyous, you know, infectious pop music to lift your mood, or do you lean heavily into the songs that are just sad and go for that big kind of cuddle of a sad song?
Oh, what would I do? I think I'd go for something not what you're expecting. I tend to put on stuff like The Killers or something, you know,
Okay.
or Muse, something really noisy,
Mm.
dramatic, and punchy, rather than go too lightweight or too, like, you know, sobbing into the gin. I tend to put
Yeah.
on something that's really quite aggressive when I'm feeling a bit down.
Yeah.
I get a bit punchy. Yeah, yeah.
Sobbing into the Gin is a great name for an album.
You know, I love if I'm walking the dog and I've got my headphones on. I love, you know, When We Were Young by the Killers.
Yeah, what a record.
That the way that guitar starts and then the drums,
Yeah.
just are. You know, people must think I'm having some kind of fit if they're in the same
Yeah.
as me walking the dog, because I get all jerky when it's on.
Yeah. I think that's their little nod to Springsteen, that track.
You can hear
Very,
that, hear their tracks actually. There's
yeah.
another which I can't remember now. Little Miss Nuclear Bomb, is it?
Yeah, that's it. That's
Very,
it.
very Brucey, very
Yeah.
Brucey. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, look, let's stay in the formative years for your next track, Carol. I'm going to ask you to tell me the song that reminds you of your time at school, please.
Okay, so this is going to be silly and funny. It's not particularly cool or anything, but it's a song that was so annoying that you couldn't forget it, and it was played a lot. It was a big hit when I was at school, and that was "Popcorn" by Hot Butter.
Yeah.
It's just the daftest thing you've ever heard. I took a listen to it on YouTube when I was compiling my list for you, and it just is daft, isn't it?
Do you know what? I hadn't listened to it for probably since I was a kid,
Yeah.
and I put it on Spotify when I got your list, and I was like,
Do you
oh
remember
my
it?
God, of course, yeah. But it's one of them things that, like, sometimes, like, if you're just doing something, you whistle or you tap something on, you
Yeah,
do that melody, like, and it's like,
and it gets faster and faster and faster as well.
absolutely, absolutely.
Really daft song that reminds me of my younger school days for sure.
Love that. Well, look, let's talk about them days, and before we get on to school, just paint me a little picture of home when you was young, and was that a musical environment?
Yeah, I mean, home was quite ordinary. So I was born in Liverpool. First 7 years of my life were in a council flat, and then my old man's a dustman lived in a council flat. And then my dad, his sort of day job, he was in the supermarket business, and he got offered a job running the fruit and veg section of a little supermarket in Shropshire, in a little town called Wellington. So we moved to very rural county Shropshire, and as you can imagine, back then, this is the 60s. You know, there was oh, it was all like, you know, early, half day closing on a Wednesday. Nothing was open on a Sunday. It was so, when I got to about 16, it was so boring. But I think as a family, it was a good place for my mum and dad to move me and my brother out of Liverpool, which was quite a tough town back then in the late 50s, early 60s. So as a young child, had a nice, you know, rural, plenty of places to play, kick a ball in the road, go off, you know, go off, walk the dog in the fields. It was all very, very nice when I was younger. And my mother had been a pools clerk. So for any of our younger listeners, this was before the lottery, the pools company. So the Vernons and Littlewoods were the pools. And my mum was a pools clerk for Littlewoods. And they had a big choir called the Littlewood Songsters. And I think the Vernon's girls became slightly more famous, but there was a lot of singing going on. My mum would tour with the choir, and they did a Royal Command performance and everything. And my dad was an amazing pianist, really good. He had all his qualifications, all his grades and stuff from Liverpool School of Music when he was like in his teens. And he used to play in the clubs and stuff. But they kind of put their dreams aside for a more conventional life when the family came along. But the record collection was epic. So mum would be a kind of Stones, Beatles, all the contemporary bands of the time. And my dad was more big divas. So Barbara Streisand, Sarah Vaughan, Shirley Bassey. He loved great piano players like Earl Garner. He loved Sashmo. He loved lots of jazz, and he absolutely loved opera. Although he never went to one, I don't think it ever occurred to him that he could go to one as a Scouse bloke. So listening to all the great arias, and he also loved classical music. And one of his favourite things was to have a few pints on a Sunday. Usually, probably so he used to go. One of our family friends was a fireman, and they used to have a really rocking social club at the fire station. Hopefully, none of them were drinking before they got a shout. There's always playing snooker there. And then he'd come home a little bit tiddly and play Tchaikovsky's 1812 Overture so loud that some of the brasses came up. It was big vogue for brasses on the wall in the 70s, and the brasses off the wall. He used to my mum's brasses, all brasses had come off the wall.
Fantastic.
Massive mix of popular, contemporary. My mum was very modern, very funky, and my dad was kind of really dramatic with all his choices, you know. So that, yeah.
But like you explaining them two sides of it, you know, those sort of pop sensibilities of like the Beatles and the Stones, and then the big, powerful kind of, you know, classical leanings and the strong, you know, female vocalists. I mean, basically, you're the hybrid of all of that, right?
I can see that. I can absolutely see that. Yeah, definitely. I do like high drama, but I also like things to be catchy, tappy turvy, you know. Yeah, but I will come up with you know, like on the new album, there's a couple of big ballads, especially a track called "Say Something," which is it's just me and strings. So it's I don't know if have you listened to the album yet?
No, I've not had a chance to listen to it.
Oh, that's a shame. I can send you a private link if you want. So "Say Something" is just like me and strings, and Ronnie and I toyed with the idea of putting more instrumentation into it. We even approached some string arrangers to do a bigger picture, but at the end of the day, the synth strings we'd put on they just work, and it's a very plaintive song. It's about, you know, ending a relationship, but will you find out that you made a huge mistake?
Yeah.
Will you find out you had something? But
yeah,
you know, that kind of thing.
And so the album drops on the 10th of April, I believe.
Yeah.
So you're back. So why 2026? Why now?
I haven't really been away in terms of live work. We haven't stopped all those 80s a lot. We're shattered. I've always want to stay. I'm in a field somewhere near you. But we just were ready to do an album. I hadn't been in the mindset to write for the longest time. I just hadn't. I'd met my husband. Ronnie and I we were personally involved for a long time, but you know, when that broke up 4 years later, I met my husband and started my family in my 40s, had my kids in my 40s. So I was very happy doing all these huge 80s revival concerts and tours.
Which are great fun. They're so much fun.
Yes, they are. And so we go on cruises. I work with orchestras. It's just insane, and it fitted very well with family life. I was on a stage, I was singing. Everybody loves our classic hits, and I was getting well paid. So and I just didn't feel like writing. Didn't really have any ideas. And then Ronnie and I put out a couple of download singles a couple of years ago, and they kind of just slipped under the radar. And I said, well, why don't we do an album? I feel ready to write. I've got some ideas. Ronnie had loads of ideas. We'll parcel up those couple of tracks that are already out there and put the new ones together. And Be Wonderful was born. We've sort of finished it literally a month ago. We put ourselves up against it by saying, right, book a tour and frighten the crap out of yourself by having to get it ready, because you can waffle. The whole thing now about just doing it yourself and having all your own equipment, your own studios, you can just waffle for
Yeah, of course.
Never put it out. I personally know somebody, very talented singer, who used to do my BVs. She took 6 years to put her album out because she would just go, and it's insecurity and fussiness and stuff. I said, right, I've booked a tour. I've told them there's a new album. We better finish it. So we did. We finished it. We finished it last month. And then Ronnie did all the artwork because he's really good at that sort of stuff. And then he went off skiing, and we found out we'd sent it all in the wrong format to the printers. he got back from skiing on Saturday, and he had to get all the artwork across to them on Sunday, just gone, the 8th, so that it could go into the printers on the 10th, and then the lead time, so the album's ready for when it's ready. So because we're the label now, so we keep just messing things up all the time, because we shouldn't really be a record label, we're musicians, but that's the way it is now.
How was it like being an independent artist and deciding as well to put that pressure on yourself to go, right, now let's book a tour, then we've got to do this, like, whereas historically the label would have been, you got deadlines, you got to do this, like, what differences did you see from having the big label pressure to then having probably even more pressure because you're responsible for it yourselves and putting that pressure on yourselves? Like, what were the fundamental differences, Carol?
Well, firstly, having no money, so I do miss those glory days. You got big advances, and they had machine. You had a global machine behind you. You were on Virgin Worldwide, and you had all of that behind you. Of course, you paid for it. It all got knocked off your profits. But it was great having that strength and push behind you when you needed it, and and that influence. And I do. I'll be honest, I do miss that. So now it's all changed, as you know, it's all online, it's all social media, and we're stumbling through it. So I usually post something when I'm pissed or something, but we suddenly realised we weren't really using our social media properly. And so we looked at some of my peers, and they're so organised, and there's posts and shorts and videos, and they all mean different things, and they achieve different things. And then you've got to link all your social media together so that if someone goes to your website, they can go to the shop. So I finally got a shop. There were so many things I wasn't doing that you have to do. So we're back to being cottage industry, which Ronnie and I were when we started. It was just me and him. My dad lent us the money for some home recording stuff, and back then you made a cassette. I hand wrote a little biog, and one of our friends took some really bad pictures of us that we sent off to record labels. So it's a bit like that again, but on a computer. So now my husband, he tour manages as well. So Richard's taken on all the social media stuff. So it's all like link, pre-order links to the album, stuff like that. Just like, oh my God, pre-order links. How do we do that? So, well, I can just tell you while we're talking about it. If you go to www.power.co.uk, that's where you'll find everything. The shop.
We'll put that link in the show notes of the podcast. We'll make it nice and easy for people to click it so they can go and check it.
So the pressure's more because we're stumbling through it. We're not being as sequential as we probably should. And things keep occurring to us that we should have done, that we haven't done and no longer have time to do. So things like, okay, my kids are both really well versed in using Premiere Pro and sound and vision editing. So they've they're doing a lyric video for me for Read My Lips, which is the first download single, because I don't have money to go out and make big videos, and you don't have to make a big video anymore. I'm probably being a bit of a dinosaur there, but you know, you want to get something out there quickly so people can latch onto something. So my daughter's just done a teaser for a lyric video for me, and we're doing all that kind of thing ourselves, you know, and just trying to create. I hate saying it. Create content. I don't even want to fucking say it. But we've got to do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Carol, I'm going to ask you for another song. I'm going to ask you to tell me the first song you remember buying from a record shop, please.
Oh, that's easy peasy because I saved up my Saturday job money. I was working at Tesco in Oakengates in Shropshire, and I went and bought Rocket Man by Elton John.
See, your first song you buy, historically, I've done over 700 of these shows now, Carol, and normally this is the one that's really embarrassing and shit. But you've got the really good one. You've got your first record's really cool.
That was my first single. My first album was probably a bit shit. It was not one of Michael Jackson's best. You remember Ben?
Yeah.
And it got to be there.
Yeah.
And the lead single was Ben's about a rat.
Yeah.
So that was my first album, but my first single was Rocket Man, Elton John, and it was purely the story, completely pulled in by the lyrics, you know. And he painted this picture, didn't he, of this guy circling around the earth, and you know, it's just yeah, he painted pictures with that song, I think.
Absolutely. Your backdrop really has been well chosen today, I'll tell you.
Well, I was listening to some podcast about manifesting.
Okay.
I was manifesting space.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, look, from the sort of from the record shop, let's go clubbing, and I'm going to ask you to tell me the song that soundtracked your year's clubbing, please, Carol.
Oh, it could have been Donna Summer again, couldn't it? But I'm going to go with this one because me and my friend Melanie used to. Do you remember the bump?
Yeah, of course.
We were really good at the bump. So if you were good at the bump, you didn't just bump your butt together. You went. This is when I could squat and get back up again. You drop all the way back down, and you'd bump together on the floor. Then you come up, and then you'd lift your knees up, and you do your legs and everything. You know. So me and Melanie were really good at it. We used to get a lot of attention on the dance floor, and it was Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry.
What a tune!
What a tune! Yeah, love it.
So you're on the dance floor. You're bashing butts with your mate Melanie,
Yeah.
and you're getting a lot of attention. Did you always like attention? Like, because you fronted a band, you know, you you're right at the front. Like that's not for the faint-hearted. Was you always quite comfortable with attention?
Yes, I was. I don't think I was overly precocious. I like to think that I wasn't, but I wasn't uncomfortable with getting attention. And I could always talk to people easily, and I could always crack jokes and think on my feet, you know. And when I was little in Liverpool, I did used to just burst into song on the bus, and people would give me like sixpence, or actually, no, back in my day, it's probably those massive two hot halfpennies.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it was like a drain lid, you couldn't pick it up, you know. And my nana, my dad's mum, Nana Decker, she was the manageress of a fruit and veg shop, and I used to tap dance on the shop counter when customers came in and stuff. I was just like a bit Shirley Temple, you know.
Always hustling for a penny. Love it.
I was a grifter. Yeah. But that made me quite Marmite, particularly when I was at school, because people either loved me or I got on their nerves massively because I didn't shut up or keep still, you know.
Yeah.
So
I want to ask you this because not all of the people that I interview on this show have had that experience, but I'm always obsessed, like growing up as a as a young kid in the 80s, and Top of the Pops was everything. I want to hear your first Top of the Pops experience and what you was expecting it was going to be, and did it deliver?
Okay, the first Top of the Pops experience would have been for Heart and Soul, which was our first international hit. And I couldn't get over the fact that we'd been booked on it because, you know, we're probably at a similar age-ish. It was the show, wasn't it? There were other different music shows like Oh Grey Whistle Test, but they were more kind of intellectual music.
Yeah.
And then along came the Roxy, which was really cool and stuff. But the big show that everybody watched from 5 years old through the generations to grandma was Top of the Pops. So I was just, oh my God, box ticked, you know. So we get there to the old White City BBC buildings, which were, it makes me sad it's not there anymore. It's just flats or something there. And you were, I think they would say who was on the show next week on the show before. So you get to the gates in a big fancy car, because the record company would send you in like a limo or something, so you always look cool. And there'd be hordes of kids who knew that you were going to be there, just screaming and banging on the car. It was like being the Beatles. It really was, you know, for 5 minutes. And then you go in, and then it's all you're met, and there's all security and receptionists, and you're walked through all these huge corridors with this kind of shiny lino. And it was a circular building. And I had to smuggle in my own makeup artist because it was all union. So you're supposed to use their makeup girls.
Yeah.
Back then they were a little bit old fashioned. They made everybody look like Marie Osmond.
Yeah.
Big pink cheeks and huge hair and blue eyeshadow. So I had to smuggle in my own makeup artist, and she had to hide all the makeup brushes and stuff. And then the studio was huge, but the cameras, you know, they film now. I mean, you can do a movie on an iPhone now. They were literally gigantic cranes, massive cranes. And if you remember the shots that would sweep across the studio, across several stages, they were massive. They were like diplodocuses, and they shot across the studio, and there'd be somebody holding this massive cable chasing the camera. And if you didn't stay where the stage manager told you to stay, you would get run over and flattened. You had to really watch what you were doing. But I was so excited. I'd never been in such a big studio, you know. And then there were all the other artists. Don't ask me, I can't remember who was on the same shows as me, but you'd see other people that you'd been watching on the telly for years, you know, in the corridors. And
did you ever have imposter syndrome when you're seeing these like superstars that you've grown up watching and things like that, and you're thinking that, well, I'm shoulder to shoulder with these people now? Did you ever question that? I mean, imposter syndrome is quite a common thing, isn't it? To just think, I don't know, like, how did you deal with it?
Did I have imposter syndrome? Not in those early days, no, because when Heart and Soul took off, it had been a massive hit in the States.
Yeah.
I was really quite confident.
Yeah.
I would say I've had times when I've been older feeling a bit insecure, you know.
Okay.
I'm past my best, I'm a bit fat these days, all that kind of. But when I was younger, I wanted it so badly.
Yeah.
I was all over it. And there was one, so that's the Top of the Pops. Yes, it did do deliver. And then we practically got a residency on it with all the different hits. And the one particular one was, we were in rehearsal, and you would have to be there from 9. You would rehearse all day. They'd run it and run it and run it and run it. And you were knackered by the time you came to record it. And there's one day, there's Paul and Linda McCartney off in the wings, just staring at me, just constantly staring at me, talking to each other, smiling and staring at me. So we finished our rehearsal, and they came over and said, sorry, we didn't mean to make you feel self-conscious, but you remind us so much of our little girl, Stella, because, you know, Stella was young at the time. She was a redhead. And I said, oh, that's sweet. So we get chatting, and Paul says, do you want a cup of tea? And I went, oh, yeah. So we went to one of there's lots of little cafeterias around the building. And me and Linda sat down, and Paul got in the queue and got some really bad tea in polystyrene cups. And we just got chatting, and I'm just chatting away with Paul and Linda.
I mean, that's surreal, right?
It is. And we stayed quite friendly for a few years. Linda would always send me a Christmas calendar of her photographs. And when the band were very successful, when I was successful, you get invited, you know, you're on the Prince's Trust, big events, film premieres. And Paul would always remember me. I remember one time we were at a Prince's Trust, and I'm walking across the room, and he's waving like that. And I'm just thinking there's someone behind me. He won't remember me. And so I'm sort of thinking, I'm not going to go and bother him. And he's going, Carol, like this. And we were really quite pally for a couple of years, you know. It was really quite...
I mean, that's an actual Beatle.
I met George Harrison as well, because China in Your Hand kept George Harrison at the number 2 spot.
With Mindset on You.
5 weeks. At the same time, Bridge of Spies, our album, was simultaneously at number 1 and kept Paul McCartney at number 2. Can't remember what that album was. So I kept 2 Beatles in the number 2 spot for 5 weeks and 2 weeks.
Cool. You scousers are competitive, aren't you?
And I'd done a Prince's Trust, and there was a big finale band, and there was Eric Clapton, Roger Daltrey, and George, and we were all at what's the place? It's on. Oh gosh, senior moment, where all the big parties were held afterwards in Hyde Park, big fancy, the Grosvenor. That's it. Thank you. And there's a balcony, and I was walking along, and they called me over. And I'm like, oh my God, And George Harrison was like, I want a word with you, young lady, because I kept him in the number 2 spot. So he pretended to tell me off, and then they both said, no, congratulations, fantastic success.
Wow.
And it was just utterly lovely. Lovely.
That's an amazing story. Amazing story. Okay, well, look, for track 6, I'm going to ask you to tell me a favourite song from an artist from your home county, please.
Home county? I thought it said home country.
Carol, that's fine, because like I said, I've done 700 of these, and I reckon 690 people have gone to me at this point. County? Oh, I thought you said country. So
the only person who's blind.
No, you're literally you're with the 95% of people that have all done it.
What I found these days is I can't remember things at the drop of a hat anymore. I go, what were those songs like? And I have to go into YouTube and I go, I remember, and I have to prompt myself.
Well, look, we've just spoke a lot about some wonderful scousers. And I know what you've chose for this, and I want to talk about it because it is such a great record,
isn't it? Okay, so going with country, not county.
Yeah.
It's Different for Girls by Joe Jackson. I bought this album, I'm the Man. I played it till it was nearly see-through. I just think he's a fantastic songwriter. I love his understated voice. And again, I like all sorts of music, but I do love good lyrics. And it's a conversation, isn't it, between a bloke and a girl. Like, what the hell is wrong with you tonight? I can't seem to say or do the right thing. And she's going, well, what did you? It's different for girls. It's like, it's such a fantastic song. It's a conversation, and it's so understated and warm. It's lovely,
Yeah. I think Joe Jackson's so underrated. I think, he should be in the conversations about real fantastic, British songwriters. I think he's an absolute genius, and that song is superb. And it's the first time that Joe Jackson's been mentioned on this podcast after 6 or 7 years. And so, when I realised she was like, oh, country, not country, I was like, no, we're going to talk about Joe Jackson because he needs to be discussed because he is an absolute genius.
No, I think he is, and I presume he's still out there in the way, because I realise now you can just go and look for somebody on the internet now, can't you? Find their social media, and you'll find it's really interesting actually, because people go, I thought she was dead. You'll find out that artists have got, like me now. I'm not in the charts anymore. I'm not sort of big mainstream star anymore. But you'll find people have got a loyal following, and they're still out there working, and they're appreciated, which is lovely. So that's the nice side of it, and especially if you've been fortunate enough to have written some hits, you can still keep working, which is great.
Lovely. It's your last track, Carol, and I'm going to ask you to tell the listeners of this show a song that you think many may not know that you would like them to hear. Okay,
so they might know it, but I found it quite an unknown and underrated song by one of the biggest bands in the world, and it's very personal to me, because it's when, without sort of being too sad about it, Ronnie and I were together for 12 and a half years, and when that relationship ended, I lost everything. I lost my best friend, my lover, my partner, my songwriter. So a whole ball of string unraveled. It's very, very difficult. And my dad had just died as well. He had a massive heart attack. It was just awful, awful. And this song it would make me weep every time I heard it, because it took me a long time to get over all of that. And it's Almost Hear You Sigh by the Rolling Stones. And I just think the guitar work in it is just superb.
Yeah, it's on Steel Wheels, isn't it?
Yeah, it is Steel Wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's beautiful. The guitar lead break is fantastic, I think. Yeah. And all the memories, all those memories. I can almost hear you sigh on every crowded street. in the places we would meet. You know, it took me a long time to. It wasn't until I met my husband that I got over all of that.
Yeah.
But it was a long time coming.
Yeah. Music's great, isn't it? You
Yeah.
know, it's just, it is that kind of thing to lean into, and it, whatever the emotions, perfect.
Well, it is. I think it's part of our soul, almost, isn't it? Music.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
it can make you feel great. It can make you feel sad. It can make you even make you angry. I once got a speeding ticket because I had. Oh, I can't remember who it was. It might have been Bon Jovi or something playing really, really loudly in my car, and the power of the song made me put my foot down on the M40.
That ain't gonna hold up in court, Carol.
I had to get a brief. I had to get a brief. It cost me 700 quid to not have my license taken off me because I'm self-employed. I need to get about, you know. But I was, yeah. So I was playing some massive rock track, and my foot went down. I was off.
Yeah.
You know, I had a sports car at the time. So yeah, so it can get you a parking ticket as well. There you go, speeding fine. Yeah.
Love it, love it. Well, look, what we do is, if people haven't heard that track by the Stones, we put together a little Spotify playlist to accompany each episode with all of your song choices on there today, and obviously we'll put some Tapao on there as well. So remind us, Carol, before we finish the show. Album drops on the 10th of April.
Yeah, Be Wonderful. Tour starts on the 10th of April. The lead single, Read My Lips, drops on the 27th of March as a download single. And you can find all of this out if you go to pow.co.uk, and there's all the relevant links to where we are, what we're doing, and what you can buy. And so we just look forward to seeing as many people as possible. We hope you enjoy the album.
Wonderful. And social media?
Yeah, I came off X because I kept getting into trouble. Yeah, so we've got. I've recently started a bit of TikTok,
Right.
Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. But there we've done this thing now called Linktree.
That's the one.
That's the one. So it's all get in there. So if you go on the website, all that's there, and then you can just connect with all the different things, whatever platforms that you like, you feel comfortable with, you know.
Wonderful. And we'll pop that in the show notes to this episode as well, and we'll take you on the socials when this comes out as well. So if you're not already following Tapao, we'll make it nice and easy for you to go and do that. Carol, it's been an absolute joy talking records with you. Thank you so much for giving up your time today.
Oh, no, it's lovely. I was just wondering, can we put Read My Lips into the playlist, which is the first single?
Oh, let's do that. Should we do that?
I'll send you a link. You have to give me your email.
Yes, let's do that. Let's do that. I'm going to press stop, but don't go anywhere.
All right. Yeah, I'll send you a link.